blogs, he does books, he's big in the lending industry in real estate. But one of the concepts that he's brought up is something called the courage scale. Now this was developed many, many years ago by a doctor named Dr. David Hopkins. That doctor was born, I believe, in 1927, spent some time working as a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, worked with World War II veterans, people who had, before they knew what PTSD was, what they would call shell shock or war sickness. And what this doctor did is he devoted his whole career to states of being, and that's different emotional states. And what he studied is he actually put a logarithmic number to the different states of emotion and whether those emotions energized you or drained you. And he actually put, and this is back in the day, like electrodes on people. He measured muscle reactions. He actually studied over 250,000 reactions to different kinds of emotions, dialogues, scenarios that people were experiencing. So with the courage scale, I started thinking about it. And what it really is a way for you to guide yourself and think about your influence, because we all influence each other. Have you ever walked into a room and you could read the mood? You knew what the mood was. Have you ever had that one friend that just, everybody loves them? They have tons of friends, they have a glowing personality, they just lift you up. And on the flip side, you probably know some people that when they call and you see them on caller ID, you don't want to pick up. You know how the conversation's going to go. It's going to be draining. So at first with the courage scale, we kind of said, well, I'm going to start with 0 and work up. So death, generally we're not very influential, although one could argue there are some very influential people that died quite a long time ago. But generally, when we're dead, we're not influential. 20 and 30, shame and guilt. I've had managers that thought shame and guilt was a good way to motivate people. So just imagine if you're, let's say you're on a basketball team and the coach is yelling at you, "You suck, you can't play, go faster." And then suddenly they yell, "Get off the field," or court, "Get off that court." You gotta walk back to the bench. It's the longest walk of shame. Does that motivate anybody to want to do better? Or does it make you feel like you're small and little and you just want to hide? Not positive ways to motivate people. And I've had a lot of managers over the years think this is how you motivate people. You shame them. Guilt, public shame. Why does the drive-through have such slow service times? Shame, shame, shame. Do you have enough staff? Should we hire more? Did you run out of food? Things like that. Questions. That would be more towards openness, logic. Grief, apathy, anger, fear. At first I thought, well, maybe apathetic is better. It's better to feel nothing, right? Who wants to be fearful and grieving and full of anger, right? But apathy is actually one of what I feel like personally, it's one of the worst things you can fall into. Apathy means you don't care. You could take a person that is apathetic and you could give them all the best tools, training, opportunities. You could have everybody and their brother lined up with their hand out to help an apathetic person, and the apathetic person will not lift a finger to help themselves. An apathetic person is literally like a wrestler. They're just tapped out. They're tapped out on their career. They're tapped out there's a lot of people that are going through life in a state of apathy. We've all maybe met a person that's like, yeah, I could go back and finish my degree, but I could try for a promotion, but meh. I could try to make friends, but that's a lot of work. I'm just gonna sit here and be apathetic. Whereas if you're in a different state, say grief or fear or anger, those could be pivotal emotions and they could actually tell you to want to do something. I feel like on the day that I got fired and I was sitting trying to get onto the freeway and all I wanted to do was go home because I felt pretty miserable, and I'm stuck on the freeway because there had been an accident and everybody had to stop and gawk at the poor person who had a flat tire. I was fearful, I was angry, made me feel like I felt grief because I was mad I wasn't going to get an award, a little plastic paperweight that said ETCC thought you did a good job. And I was sad that I wasn't going to get that paperweight because I really wanted it and I had one from the year before. And then we're coming up to line 200, or logarithmic number 200. The line of courage. We've all heard the phrase line in the sand, right? There's a line in the sand. And that is where we get to a point where we can change the conversation. We can influence in a positive way, or we can influence in a negative way. Has anybody been through a real estate transaction that was really bad? Me too. Some that I would never want to go through again. And I had to be very honest with myself. Obviously, I don't have dialogue memorized. I don't record conversations, nothing like that. But I had to be very honest. I had to look back and say to myself, after I became aware of the courage scale, general things I remember about the tone of a conversation, dialogue. Did it fall below this line? Could things have been different if maybe my approach had been start with the openness, the what behind the why, willingness to hear the other person's side, or maybe in some of those rougher transactions, the handful I've been in, maybe their client was the worst person they've ever dealt with. Maybe their client was making their life miserable. Logic, reason and logic, then we keep going up. Love, joy, peace, enlightenment, so on and so on. But it's a choice. It's a choice to have that line in the sand, that level that you try to stay at, starting with openness, willingness, reason and logic. Those are really good places just to start there. And if you start having those conversations and you start feeling yourself sliding below that line, that's where you have to ask yourself, where do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that when somebody sees you on caller ID, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk to you. How are you doing? Pick up on the first ring. And you feel energized by them and feel like you had a great positive experience? Or ask yourself, do you want to be that person where someone's like, swipe to voicemail, I don't want to call, I'd rather just text them back. Nobody voluntarily wants to be here. But without naming names, I bet everybody can think of somebody they know that lives the majority of their life where their conversations fall below the line. That's really draining. It's really draining. And then, without naming names, we could probably all think of the person that's here and up. So with the line of courage, this is something new that I've been using. And I've been trying to ask myself every day, where is my line starting? What is it I want to accomplish? The what behind the whys. How do I want my day to end? How do I want the week to end, the month to end, the year? So the courage scale, you may not need a scale to tell you this. Have you ever heard of the government spending millions of dollars to find out something that we all knew, like traffic is stressful, milk is good for you, things like that. This is, in some ways, what the courage scale is. It's telling you something you already knew. But when you have a tool, just something simple like this, it's just a really good reminder to think about where your line in the sand really is. You know what Brian and I teach people? You are the CEO of your own business. Everybody here is a small business owner. You all have your own business. You're the CEO of your life. You're the CEO of your space, who you allow to occupy your space. The most precious space you have is the space in your mind and who you allow in there to live rent-free. You're the CEO of your future, your opportunities, your growth, your potential, and your choices. You are the one that is going to decide what you're going to do, and you're going to face the day each day. And right now, it's a shifting market. It's not the same market it was last year. And facing a shifting market means you're going to need a little bit more grit, a little bit more tenacity, a little bit more willingness to come in. And you might have to do the same thing again and again and again. So you're going to need to think of the now that you're in and the future that you want to get to. Sure, we all want the future result right now. I want to be retired right now. I have a long way to go. I want to go to the gym, and I want to be completely fit and lose 12 pounds and all these other things. I want it right now, but I'm going to have to really commit to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to eat healthier and schedule exercise and start lifting weights and doing those things that I know I need to do.